Hello, my dear friends. Good afternoon. I hope you're all doing very well. Today we're going to be learning a new set of laws. We're going to be learning the 3 chapters in Rambam, and where we actually complete this book with these last couple chapters, in where we're going to be learning the laws of Brit Mila, of circumcision. So this is a very fundamental mitzvah. It's actually one of the first mitzvahs that the Jewish people did. They were commanded by God, where God told Abraham, the first Jew, that he should circumcise himself and his household and so on. And also, we know, obviously, that this was also one of the important things that the Jewish people did as they were going out of Egypt. And we were commanded this in the Torah, that there should be no uncircumcised male in the Jewish people. So, this always has been and always is a very important and special mitzvah, where the Rambam begins off by telling us that this is a positive commandment, where if a person doesn't do this, since it is such a fundamental mitzvah, it is the covenant between the Jewish people and God. It's one of the covenants that we have between us and God. So if a person doesn't do it, so then that person is, so to speak, cut off from the rest of his people, because of the fundamental part and fundamental idea that there is in this mitzvah. And therefore, because it's such an important mitzvah, such an important commandment, so therefore when a father has a child, there is a mitzvah that he should circumcise his child, and his baby boy. And so to also, if a person, back in the day when the Torah discusses the idea of having a slave, so if a person has a slave, so then also they need to circumcise that slave. And if a father didn't give his child a circumcision, didn't give them a Brit Mila, so then the high court, it will be the responsibility of the high court to arrange that the child should have the Brit Mila. Now, and so if a person grew up and for whatever reason his father, his parents, or the high court, no one arranged this for him. He didn't have this opportunity to have a Brit Mila. So now the responsibility is on himself, that he has to go and arrange that he should have a Brit Mila. And by the way, I will say that I know an individual here in Pensacola who, at a very old age, in his mid-70s, who didn't have a Brit Mila, just a couple weeks ago, got arranged for himself and had a Brit Mila, which was an amazing thing. But so this is exactly what the Rambam is talking about, a person who didn't have a Brit Mila, and this person now is grown up, so now there's a mitzvah on him to go and actually do this. And it's a very important mitzvah. And as long as the person, there is a commandment that they should do this mitzvah, so as long as they're not doing the commandment, so then they're negating this positive commandment. And it's a very important thing to make sure that it happens. And so too in regards to a slave, as we spoke about in the beginning, that a person who buys a slave, so then he has to make sure that the slave is going to be circumcised, and so there's various circumstances. Some slaves will be circumcised on the day that they are bought. Some we will wait 8 days, and only then will they be circumcised. Only then will they have a Brit Mila. The Rambam goes into the details of it, and it is part of the Torah. It's part of Jewish law. So we'll just go through it quickly. The various ways. So in general, a person who gets a slave will circumcise it on the day that they are bought, so to speak. But if a person buys a maidservant, now she has a child, and now this child is born, so then this child will only be circumcised on the 8th day after he was born. And now what about if a person buys a slave and the slave doesn't want to be circumcised? It's not interested. So then, you can wait up till 12 months to see if he's going to be interested. If not, then you have to resell him to someone else, because according to the Torah, a person who has a slave, since this slave essentially, it's part of the process of becoming Jewish, so therefore part of that process is circumcision. And unless from the beginning, they made, from the outset, they decided that the slave wouldn't be circumcised, so then it's fine. But if he bought the slave with the intent that it should be just like a regular slave, so then he would have to be circumcised. And now the Rambam moves on to a slightly different topic in regards to a person who converts to Judaism, which again, same idea. It's just like a newborn baby. Person who becomes Jewish, it actually says that they are like a whole new being, and therefore when a person becomes Jewish, so of course they have to go to the mikvah, but another important part of it is to get a Brit Mila, to get a circumcision. And this is even for someone who was actually circumcised before, still there is a special there's a special idea to extract it's just like a little drop of blood for the mitzvah. So even though the person was already circumcised earlier, but still there is the idea of extracting this little drop of blood, where it's the idea of the covenant, which that is to take place when the person becomes Jewish. Similarly, also, if a person was circumcised, but not by a mohel, not by someone who was doing with the blessing in order to do it for the covenant, but rather just for health reasons or for whatever reason it might be, so then there's still the idea that they should have this little extraction of this one little drop of blood, that it should be in order for the mitzvah. And even someone who was maybe born circumcised, there have been various points in history where that has taken place. So then, again, they should also have that little drop in order for the mitzvah of Brit Mila. And the Rambam says that whenever we do a Brit Mila, whenever a circumcision takes place, it should be done during the day. And it should be from the morning, from the sunrise, till the sunset, and the entire day is fine. But we should obviously, as in every mitzvah that we want to do as quickly as possible in the morning, is obviously best, but it is fine throughout the day. Now, in regards to the Brit Mila, so a Brit Mila is on a regular child, the baby is born. It is done on the 8th day from when the baby is born. So, baby is born, let's say, on Sunday. So then we will do the circumcision the next Sunday on the 8th day. Now, what happens if a baby is born on Shabbat? Baby is born on Shabbat. Now, the 8th day is going to be Shabbat. What happens in such a case? Because essentially, we're not allowed to make someone bleed on Shabbat. But because of the specialty of this mitzvah of Brit Mila, so therefore the Torah says that essentially Shabbat is pushed away because this is a positive commandment and it has a very important strength, and it's important that it should take place at this point of the 8th day, as it says in the Torah that on the 8th day you should circumcise your son. So therefore it pushes away that rule of Shabbat, and we will do the circumcision on Shabbat. That is all in a case where it is actually the 8th day. But if for whatever reason the Brit Milah had to be pushed off, and it can't be on the 8th day, for maybe, let's say, the child was not feeling so well, and he wasn't so healthy, so now we had to wait an extra week or 2 weeks or so on. It's very common, actually, when a baby's bilirubin level is not up to par, so then they'll wait a little bit. So in such a case, we do not push away Shabbat for the circumcision, but rather we would wait till Sunday. And so too, this also applies in regards to a slave. So too, if it's the 8th day, then we do it. If it's not the 8th day, then it would not push away Shabbat. Then the Rambam says a very interesting thing in regards to a child, a baby which is born. A baby who is born in the 8th month. So, according to Torah, there is a discussion in regards to when a baby is born in the 7th month, 8th month, or the 9th month. So, it says when a baby is born in the 7th month or the 9th month, so then everything is as regular. If the baby is healthy, everything is fine. That's all good. If a baby is born during the 8th month, so I believe also according to science it works like this. You can ask your local doctor. But it says during the 8th month it's not a very healthy time for a baby to be born. And actually it can bring to stillborn and so on and so forth. So therefore, we wait. So if the baby is healthy and if the baby is born in the 8th month, then we see that everything is fine. So that means basically it was just like a 7th month but it just prolonged a little bit and was born in the 8th month. But if we see that the baby is not complete, the baby's hair is not proper, or maybe the fingernails are not complete, and so on. So in other words, there are telltale signs to say that this baby is not really healthy. So then we should wait, because obviously we don't want to do, something which we can't retract. So we wait up until 30 days until we see the baby is alive and well and everything is good, and only then do we do the Brit Mila. And so in such a case, also we would not push off Shabbat for that. What about if a person was born in between sunset and nighttime? So in other words, there is the time from when the sun sets until it actually becomes dark. That is an in-between time. It's about, depends where you are in the world, but it's about half an hour to 45 minutes. And, that time is in between days. For instance, we light Shabbat candles Friday afternoon before sunset. But then until nightfall, it's like an in-between period. So what happens then? Is it counted as Friday? If a child was born on Friday afternoon between sunset and nightfall, is it counted as Friday, or is it counted as Shabbat? So the Rambam says that we add on that extra day. So we say as if the baby was born on Shabbat, so we push it off, and then the Brit Mila will essentially supposed to take place on Shabbat. The problem is that because we're not sure, because because it wasn't an in-between time, which is not definite, so therefore we actually have to wait till Sunday, because maybe it was actually born on Friday, and the Brit Mila was supposed to happen on Friday, and now it's being pushed off to the 9th day, which is Shabbat, Brit Mila doesn't push away the 9th day, only on the 8th day. A little bit complicated, but if you can go back to see what I meant. So in other words, Brit Mila only pushes away Shabbat if it's on the 8th day. If it's on the 9th day, we don't. So if this baby was born on Friday afternoon, as Shabbat begins, since we're not sure if it's the 8th or the 9th, so therefore we push it off to the 10th, essentially, to the Sunday. Continuing on, same idea, if a baby was born, if it stuck out its head when it was in the time of in between Friday night and actually getting into Shabbat, and even though the rest of the baby might have been born, the entire body might have come out and been born while it's Shabbat, but since we're not sure, so therefore we wait till Sunday. And the Rambam continues on by saying that in general, if a child is not entirely healthy, we should be very careful and we should wait until the child is healthy, and after that we start counting 8 days from when the baby becomes healthy again. But if it's just like a cold or something like that, which is nothing which is too dangerous, it's just the Rambam says, or someone who their eyes are hurting and so on, so then we just wait till they're healthy and then we do the circumcision. But if it was something which was more intense, so to speak, an actual illness, so then we wait after they are healthy, we count 8 days, and then do the Brit Mila, and of course, it doesn't push away Shabbat. What happens if a baby which is born, and he says in an 8th month, which can happen that a child is yellowish, which is actually quite common. So then we should wait until his blood recovers and the complexion returns to that of any other ordinary healthy child. Same idea if the baby's complexion is very, very red. So in such a case, we should also wait until it becomes better, and then we should only later on do the Brit Mila once the baby is healthy. And again, the Rambam said this is very important, and we should be great care should be taken in regards to these matters. And so much so, the Rambam says that the health of the child, the state of the health of the child, is such an important aspect when it comes to Brit Mila, because if you have a case where you have a woman who has a child, and now this first child is circumcised, and sadly, God forbid, this child dies because of it. And she has a second child. And then again, she wants to give him a Brit Mila. She's a good Jewish mom. Now he has a child. Even if it's from a different husband. But still, second child from this mother, and he dies, and this second child also dies from the Brit Mila. If she has another third child, she should not give him a Brit Mila, because his two older brothers have passed away from it, so we don't want to put his life into danger. So rather he should wait until the child grows up and becomes strong and healthy, and only then do we do a Brit Mila for that child. Because the Rambam finishes off this chapter by saying that you can always circumcise later, but you can never bring back another Jewish soul back into life. So therefore, we should always be very careful. If a child is unhealthy, we should take the utmost precaution to make sure that the baby is entirely healthy, and only then do we do the Brit Mila, the special mitzvah of circumcision. So with that, we completed the chapter for today. We are coming to the end of the second book of Rambam, and we're, God willing, soon going to begin the next book. So another 2 days of that, and then we will continue. All the best, and we will see you guys tomorrow.